Frédéric Chopin was not just one of the greatest composers who ever lived, but one of the greatest pianists as well. His greatness as a pianist was a function of something more than his faultless technique. It was a function of artistry. He wasn't much of a physical specimen. He was thin, pale, and sickly in appearance. He played the piano very quietly. It was said that when he played mezzo forte, slightly loud, it sounded like a roaring waterfall relative to the usual quietude of his playing. What Chopin could do was make the piano, this construct of wood, metal, and felt, sing. He could make it sing in a way that no one before him had ever managed to do. Yes, Chopin was a great virtuoso, but his virtuosity as both a pianist and as a composer of piano music was always employed as a means to an end rather than an end unto itself. This is true even in Chopin's Etudes, his studies for piano. Chopin's Etudes. An etude is a relatively short work designed around a particular technical challenge. Up to Chopin's time, etudes, particularly etudes for piano, were dry and repetitive things, glorified exercises foisted upon students in order to teach and develop technique. Now, Chopin was of that first generation of pianists to play what were almost modern pianos, pianos with double escapement mechanisms and metal as opposed to wooden harps, big pianos with lots of resonance and capable of playing repeated notes very rapidly. Chopin understood that this new piano demanded a new sort of etude, one that could demonstrate and exploit its new capabilities, new software for new hardware. So compose etudes he did. On October 29th, 1829, the 19-year-old Chopin wrote to his friend Titus Wojciechowski in Warsaw, telling him that, I quote, "I've composed an etude in my own manner," unquote. In my own manner. Chopin, like Johann Sebastian Bach and Mozart before him, was pretty much incapable of writing an uninteresting piece of music. So what Chopin meant when he said that he was writing etudes in his own manner was that he was writing real pieces of music that just happened to be etudes. It's a fact. Chopin single-handedly elevated the genre of piano etude into high art, blending expressive poetry and virtuosity into compact works of breathtaking beauty. Since their publication in the 1830s, Chopin's etudes have been celebrated primarily for their musical content, not their technical content. Other masterworks of the genre, meaning the etudes of Franz Liszt, Claude Debussy, Sergei Rachmaninoff, and György Ligeti, would have been unthinkable without Chopin's model. Now, altogether, Chopin composed 27 etudes for the piano, the 12 etudes of Opus 10 composed between 1829 and 1832, the 12 etudes of Opus 25 composed between 1832 and 1836, and the 3 new etudes composed in 1839. As an example, we turn to the 12th and final etude of Opus 10, set in the key of C minor and composed in 1831. The etude is a study for the left hand, which must play long, sweeping lines in almost continuous 16th notes. The etude runs just 2.5 minutes in length and is cast in 2 large sections. Its brevity and bravura, meaning purposefully virtuosic, left-hand part, clearly mark this piece as being a study, an etude. But it is also a powerful, violently expressive piece of music, and therein lies a story. This etude was inspired by a real-world event, the destruction of a Polish uprising and the capture of Warsaw by the Russians on September 8th of 1831. Chopin, who grew up in Warsaw, had left his hometown at the age of 20 on November 2nd of 1830, intent on achieving fame and fortune in Western Europe. On the road to Paris, Chopin was in Stuttgart in southwestern Germany when he heard the news of the Polish catastrophe. He was devastated. According to Maurice Karasowski, a 19th century Polish composer, critic, and an early biographer of Chopin's, quote, grief, anxiety, and despair over the fate of his relatives and his dearly beloved fatherland filled the measure of his sufferings. Under the influence of this mood, he wrote the C minor Etude, called by many the revolutionary Etude. Out of the mad and tempestuous storm of passages for the left hand, the melody rises aloft, now passionate and anon proudly majestic, until thrills of awe stream over the listener, and the image is evoked of Zeus hurling thunderbolts at the world.